Hello, I'm Katherine MacKenzie, the new biology teacher at AICS Main and South East. Today I want to talk to you about stress, about how stress impacts our bodies, how it ties in with sleep, and how both of these things impact our immune system and our overall health, both mentally and physically. And I'll give you an exercise to try and help you minimize stress in general. In this theme of reality check, I think it's very important to check in with ourselves, with our own realities. A lot of our normal lives, we're focused outwards on how we impact those around us, our communities, and the world. But this experience of more isolation has given us a strange opportunity to step back and focus on what impact the world and the people around us have on us. So for the next few minutes, I'll ask you to be selfish, to think of your own experiences, your body, and your mind. Normally in a school year, there are high and low stress periods. The times of high stress usually centre around deadlines and tests or exams, and they can be felt by students as well as teachers and staff. We cram in all our work through the week, and students have a lot of different subjects to learn at once. Staff have extra preparation, marking, and administration to fit in, and we all start doing this early in the morning. So what effect does that have on our biology, and how can we start to wind that down and find health-promoting routines? Stress is hardwired into us as a beneficial survival technique. Most of you have probably heard of this as our flight or fight response. In times throughout evolution, where predator-prey relationships relied on escaping or fighting, this would be really useful now and then, but you'd have time to rest in between these encounters, to let your system get back to normal before having another spike of encounter. It makes sense that increasing heart rate and quickening the breath to get more oxygen for respiration would be the first stress symptoms, as they're usually what we notice first when we become nervous or worried about something coming up. But along with these, there's an increase in blood sugar from the liver, less energy diverted to the digestive system so that only necessary functions are focused on, and more energy going to your muscles so that they're primed to move. So you have this tenseness built up in your muscles. So you can see that for these escape encounters, these are a useful set of reactions. But now in our day-to-day lives, these days, it's not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger that we're worried about. As a teenager, it's having to give a presentation tomorrow morning and then submit an essay by tomorrow afternoon, while also having a test on Wednesday and sharing computer time with a younger sibling. Meanwhile, you're being told right now to take distance from your friends, who might be a welcome outlet. And you've had to spend a lot more time at home, where sometimes parents and siblings who are also feeling their own stresses don't make the situation any easier. These prolonged stressors, the ones that stay constant with looming deadlines, social pressures, pressure and expectations from parents and teachers to do well, or a global viral pandemic, these are the ones that keep your heart rate slightly elevated, just above normal, and that keep your blood sugar that bit higher. And you might recognize that feeling of it being harder to get to sleep with all these things happening. Another side effect of this evolutionary response is that these reactions keep you on alert. All this means that prolonged stress or chronic stress can have a really big impact on your health over time. You're not getting that break to take it down again. Things like high blood pressure, headaches or migraines, symptoms of depression, digestive issues, diabetes, issues with fertility, can all be linked to stress, and the lowering of your ability to sleep well and to relax just heightens the stress, which keeps it going in a vicious cycle. Stress and lack of sleep are both also implicated with mental health issues, so higher rates of depression and anxiety, as well as being shown to lower our immune response. I'm currently reading a beautiful book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, who has a PhD specialising in sleep science. His and many other scientists' research focuses on the biological impacts of sleep, both not getting enough sleep or having an irregular sleeping pattern. If you're finding this quite interesting so far, I'd highly recommend this book, and some of its information is being used in here. There's also a very popular TED Talk by Dr. Walker called Sleep is Your Superpower, which I'd encourage you to watch. As members of a school community, within a culture that values the appearance of productivity. We're conditioned into thinking that early mornings are how we become productive, and sleeping in later is viewed as a form of laziness. And you'll get this a lot as a teenager, telling you to get up early. This isn't naturally your biological want. Your first classes at school start at around 8 a.m, 8:30 a.m. And that's year round, meaning that you probably have to wake up at around 7:30 every day. And to get a full 8 hours of sleep, that means being asleep by 11:30 p.m, which means probably going to bed at around 11, seeing as it takes on average 20 minutes or so to fall asleep. But if you then stay up later reading or checking your phone, this will keep adding new stimulations to your brain, particularly if you're getting light stimulation from a screen, which pushes back your feeling of tiredness. And this early wake-up time can be damaging to learning, as you need a good amount of good quality sleep to effectively learn new information and to store learned information. So our natural circadian rhythm, the day and night cycle that our bodies live by, it's also imprinted into us in the same way as our flight or fight response. Some people fall asleep earlier and wake up easier, and some people stay up late and sleep late, and there are people in the middle. But everyone has their own biological rhythm programmed into their genetics. And that makes sense since it's evolved before electricity, when we relied on sunlight, that the majority of sleep happens when the sun goes down. And the sleep hormones, melatonin and adenosine, these are in an opposite rhythm from our normal stress hormones like adrenaline. So it makes sense that if our stress hormones are at a higher level, the sleep hormones won't have that same effect of letting us go to sleep easier. So combine that with an increased use of screens past sundown, and it's no wonder that by 11 p.m. you don't feel tired. But stress impacting sleep will have a combined effect on what they both influence, which is your immune system. The immune system is our body's natural defense against disease and infection. Any of you who are studying biology will know that it's a complex system and that lots of cells play a role in recognizing, targeting, and destroying foreign pathogens that get into our body. One of the key types of cells for this are natural killer cells. They're a type of lymphocyte or white blood cell that responds to viral invasions and cancerous cells. It's been shown that restricting sleep by just a few hours a night, so not skipping sleep altogether, just 4 hours instead of 7 or 8, can lead to about a 70% decrease in natural killer cell activity. In another study, after a week of 6 hours of sleep, because 4 is still a big decrease, but 1 or 2 hour decrease, so 6 hours sleep a night for 1 week, there was a significant decrease in expression of genes associated with immune system function. And there was a corresponding increase of genes associated with stress. So your immune system function goes down and your stress goes up. And this is worrying, especially in the face of a global viral pandemic, when stress is impacting sleep, sleep is impacting stress, and both of these things will lower our body's natural defenses, leaving us vulnerable for viral attacks. And these kind of studies and evidence can be quite scary because they show that over a very short amount of time, we can have these huge impacts on our biology. And how do we start to tackle that? There are so many additional things to worry about in the world right now, and so many social pressures, school and work pressures, cultural pressures, and our culture is also still built around early starts and output. So it sometimes feels like we can't stop. All this research should have an impact on the systems that we have in place. It should mean that schools rethink test and exam schedules, maybe that deadlines are a bit more staggered between subjects. It could also impact the times that schools start and end, or maybe we can have a nap time midway through to help your learning. These are all things that will hopefully be fleshed out more as the findings of these studies are discussed more. But until there's a systemic change, how can we overcome feelings of stress so that we can gain the benefits that a good night's sleep can bring us? I think that tackling this negative cycle should start with having an understanding of your own stress and sleep cycles. Being able to recognize the feelings in your own body that indicate stress starting, or start to make you feel like you're not tired yet, so that you're unable to go to sleep with your usual rhythm if you notice that you're a bit out of whack. You might not recognize these little symptoms at first because maybe they're so normal to you by now that you think you're totally fine on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I'd encourage you to take some of the following steps regardless. It can't hurt to give yourself some extra care. When you're worried or panicked, you'll have heard people tell you to take deep breaths. But why does deep breathing matter here? Not only does it allow a longer period for actual gas exchange within the lungs, helping to oxygenate your brain and body a little more, but the physical act of breathing itself has a big impact on our whole nervous system. The nerves that control breathing are largely autonomic, which means that they work automatically without us needing to think, I need to breathe in, and now out, and now in. So that happens on its own. But notice that as I start to talk about that, now you're noticing your own breathing rate, and it switches. Now you can control or even force your breath too. So nerves from the somatic or voluntary nervous system are involved as well. But the interesting part of controlling your breath is the calming down effect. What's happening here is that the voluntary nerves are telling the muscles of breathing, which is mainly the diaphragm, to move at a more controlled pace. And this feeds back to the brain via the automatic nerves and essentially slows down the electrical activity within these nerves, literally limiting the electrical firing right there. And these automatic nerves, which are called the phrenic nerves primarily, they have links with nerves controlling other processes too, like the nerve that's called the vagus nerve, which influences every organ below the neck. And that's the automatic function of all of your organs. That includes the heart and the intestines. So when these nerves calm down by slowing down your breathing, the signals that they send to the other organs also calm down, meaning that slowing down or controlling your breath can in turn slow down your heart rate and digest those butterflies in your tummy. This term at ACE, I did a small side project with the DP1 class about stress, which encouraged the students to take a step back and time for themselves mindfully. The instructions were as follows. At least once a week, or when you start to notice the first stress responses in your own body, take at least 20 minutes to do an activity that you can fully immerse yourself in. I would encourage something not too highly stimulating like TV and video games, which will increase that adrenaline response, but something to decrease your heart rate. Something like drawing or painting if you feel creative, creating something, reading a book or playing an instrument, maybe spending some time with your pet for a gentle walk or just petting them, doing a small guided meditation or a gentle yoga routine. But the trick is that while you're doing your activity, you should think only of your activity. So focus on the way your hand moves as you draw or the chords you're making on the guitar. Count your steps as you walk, take in the nature around you fully, and notice your breath, and notice it slowing down. Focus on deep, slow breathing while you do your activity. I want to invite everyone watching to try this too. It might feel like you don't have time, especially at first, or that you have too much to do already to fit it in, but making space for this as a routine, particularly before sleep, to take away that screen time stimulation that's going to help you sleep sooner. So this should help you see the importance of both of these activities for creating a healthier, happier, and more checked in you. It will allow you that time for a reality check on yourself every day. Thank you.